Today, we are talking about how to leverage ChatGPT to translate military skills for the civilian job market. My name is Cassie Hatcher. I am the CEO of Career Confidence LLC. I am a certified professional resume writer and a certified veteran career strategist. In addition to that, I'm also a mama of two little girls, 3 and 5, and we live on a rural 40-acre homestead in central Colorado. It's just an hour south and an hour west of Colorado Springs. We have chickens, goats, ducks. Actually, we just got rid of our ducks, turkeys, a dog, a big old garden. And then my husband and I are building an earthship, which is a home that's made from tires. And then we're using hempcrete on the inner wall. It's very new, it's very exciting, and it's a lot of work. We probably picked the hardest possible way to build a house. And in addition to that, I also am a military brat. Both of my parents are retired Air Force, and I've spent the last 10 years working with military and veterans and military spouses. I also have my amazing team here, Chona and Jamie. They are writers. Jamie is also our account manager, and she's going to be helping me a little bit with the chat if I start to get off track. I would love for you to type in questions as you have them. I'm always happy to hop in and test things out with ChatGPT because it is ever changing. Just in preparing for this webinar, I found things that had changed since the last time I tested it out just a couple months ago. Okay, so let me tell you a funny story. So when I was first learning about ChatGPT, this was back in April. I went to a conference, it's called Career Thought Leaders, and they really do talk about, like the advancements in the career industry. So AI was obviously a really hot topic. And what one of the resume writers, she had raised her hand and said, yep, I had a client who had used ChatGPT. He was a recent college grad, and he probably had been using it for his papers and just been testing it out a little bit. But she started to ask him questions about his resume, and she said, so tell me about how you increased sales by 20%. And the client said, oh, I don't know. That's just what ChatGPT wrote. And so I have a feeling that that's going to be happening more often, maybe with the younger generation, maybe, who knows, but ChatGPT will hallucinate information. So we do want to make sure to plug in the right information so it doesn't just pull things out of nowhere. But I thought that was pretty hilarious, and I can imagine recruiters, get that happening quite a bit. Okay, so who is this webinar for? This is for military service members and veterans who want to leverage AI in their resume and their job search, and also supporters of military and veterans that are transitioning into the civilian workforce, whether that's on the for-profit or the nonprofit side. So some of the key takeaways from today is I want to talk about just the basics of ChatGPT. We'll start there. How to use ChatGPT to translate military evals. Also how to use ChatGPT to ask the right questions or prompts. I'm going to be saying the term prompts, which essentially means questions. Also the limitations of ChatGPT and ways to use it in your job search and for LinkedIn. So we're covering a lot. It's going to be great. So I did a poll recently. Well, I did a poll 4 months ago and just 2 days ago. And it was very interesting because back in June, I asked, are you using ChatGPT to help write your resume or in your job search? And I had 75% respond no, that they weren't using it for their resume and weren't using it for their job search. Then when I asked just a couple days ago, I saw a 22% increase in those who were using it for their resumes. I also saw a 4% decrease in those who are using it for job searching, which I found kind of interesting. And I think that percentage will change after today. So should you be using ChatGPT 3.5 or ChatGPT 4, which is $20 a month? So I tested this out for the last 3 months and just to see the difference, and I would put the same information in 3.5 versus 4. Now, 4 is better at handling prompts or questions. It has more of a reduced bias, and it's also a lot faster. It's a lot more efficient. But for our purposes, unless you're in IT or you're doing coding and you just need it to be really, really fast or to give you more information, I recommend using the 3.5, which is the free version. I actually like it better just because it gives me more concise information. ChatGPT 4 ends up giving me way more than I need. And because resumes need to be concise and to the point, I think 3.5 is actually better. So yay, you can stick with the free version. You don't need to feel like you need to pay that extra $20 a month. Okay, so some of the basics for resume writing. So taking military evaluations, which unfortunately you can't always, copy and paste from your evals. Oftentimes you're going to have to either type it out from your eval or get a PDF to Word doc converter through Adobe. But either way, once you actually have the content of your evals, I asked ChatGPT, can you translate and civilianize military terminology within this sentence? It says yes. It speaks multiple languages and it actually does speak a little bit of military. So it's been very helpful so far. The other thing is I ask it to quantify experience. So one of the best things for your resume is numbers. Numbers draw the eye. If we can have dollar amounts and percentages, we can talk about, what is the largest budget you've managed? What is the largest number of direct reports and indirect reports? What is the largest amount of property assets and equipment you've been responsible for? Can you give me a percentage of how you've increased operational efficiency and why? That's a really key factor. So those are the things that we want to see in a resume, and even more so, that's what recruiters want to see. So I recorded an example. I'm hoping it's loud enough. I know that it's small, and I'm happy again to test things out at the end of this webinar, but I'm going to turn it up all the way. ChatGPT to translate military acronyms. So starting a little bit higher, I asked ChatGPT to translate these military EPRs and all acronyms within the sentence and to civilianized terms whenever possible. The translation came across pretty nice, coordinates our support with ground operations, provides guidance to new operations centers. Now, one thing I do typically have to remind it is to write tense. Here's another one. Ooh, it's a rough. And even when it's translated, there's still a lot of military terminology. So I continue to refine. Like I said, I asked it to make everything past tense. GPT did it. I asked it to change all airstrikes to the term operations. Let's do that. I also asked it to remove any terms with enemy combatants. That say coalition members. So there's definitely still some editing that typically happens. But still, when you go from this to this, that's a big amount of energy that you did not have to spend on translating military terminology. I hope this helps. Thanks so much. Okay, so you can see how that works. It's pretty incredible. And I do actually have some other specific examples. So if we'd like to hop on, can you all see my screen still, I think, correct? Okay. Watch, ChatGPT is going to not want to work for me now, right? It's probably because I have too many things open. Oh, it's not going to do it. Come on, then. Okay, so starting at the top, I used just a one sentence So hired 4.9 regional IMAs and TRs with 100% fill rate. I have to be honest. So, and I think Chona and Jamie would probably agree, when we go through evals, probably the hardest ones are going to be our Air Force people. The EPRs and the OPRs are, when they have to fit it into that one sentence, it's really difficult. I'm loving the new evals. They are fantastic. I can't wait till that's all we see. But for now, those are the hardest for us to do, I would say. So it translated the civilian terms in the military eval and wrote out every single acronym. So that's a lot better than having to hop back and forth to Google. And oftentimes you probably know the acronym meanings, even though sometimes I talk to clients and they're like, I don't remember what that means. So then I took even more, and when I downloaded it from a PDF to a Word doc, the formatting was all weird. I decided just to throw it in to see if it would still understand. It did. It didn't have any issues with these weird wingdings, as I call them. But it was able to translate it into military terms pretty clearly. We have a lot of great quantifiables that are front loaded. That's the biggest thing. This was already pretty well front loaded, but anytime you have a measurable result, we want to put that at the very start of the sentence and then say how you achieve that measurable result. Okay. So anytime you have the chance to, once you put in your information, you can continue to refine, just like I did in that example. Make it past tense, front load accomplishments, change this word to this word. And what I want to show you is what a front-loaded accomplishments-based resume should look like. And again, numbers, dollar amounts, percentages, they draw the eye. And when we're reading something very quickly, when I say we, I mean recruiters, hiring managers, we have 10 to 15 seconds to capture their attention. And we want to make sure that their eye is drawn to those quantifiables and that they are at the front of the sentence. And we talk about how those quantifiable results-based metrics were achieved. Okay, so limitations of ChatGPT. So you don't want to ask it to write a job description for a project manager. You're going to end up with a job description that a recruiter would post on LinkedIn or any other hiring platform. So don't ask it to do that. The other thing is it uses a lot of the same adjectives over and over again. We like every single sentence to start with a new power word: directed, helmed. I know Jamie has so many great ones, and we actually have a 700-word list that I refer to often to make sure that we have a different power word leading every sentence. We don't want managed, 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 managed. That is boring, and we can do better. The other thing is it can't, and this is actually something I learned when I was preparing for this webinar, is it can't provide job links or search the web, which is very strange because I wrote an article about 5 months ago when I first started using it, and I asked it, I copied and pasted a resume in, and I asked it for 5 jobs for a remote project manager. And it gave me 5 jobs and it gave me the links. And then when I asked it just a couple weeks ago, it couldn't do it. It said it cannot search the web. So that was a little bizarre. I don't know if we're going backwards or what, but unfortunately it cannot search the web. Now tools like Bard, so that's Google's version of AI, can, and we're just going to be seeing an explosion in AI technology over the next probably several months. Another huge limitation is the formatting capabilities. There is absolutely no formatting or visual capabilities. And when you take the content that ChatGPT writes and put it into a resume, and I had it just come up with a fictional resume information, it has these stars where there should be bold. It's obviously, it doesn't have much going on for it here. So if you do want a visually appealing resume, which I highly recommend because you need to stand out among hundreds of other applicants, it's going to have to be created by a human. And I will talk a little bit later. We have some great resume templates that you can buy if you go through this webinar and you feel really confident using ChatGPT. you still want to have a nice visually appealing resume. So ways to use ChatGPT in your job search. So this is really fun. I asked it to provide job ideas based on this resume and copied and pasted a resume in. And I know this is going to be really small, but it came up with 7 pretty good ideas. They are likely what this candidate was going to target. So project management, operations management, program management, risk manager, consultant, business development, and supply chain. Now, obviously this is very, very broad, but I do like that it says the reasons why the candidate would be a good fit for those roles. I also have another example from one of our sample resumes. So this is one that this is just fictionalized that I copied in. And one thing to note as well, sorry for all the scrolling, is you do not want to copy your personal information, so your phone number, your email, all of that, because this is still an open platform. And I can foresee, just like every other, just like Facebook, just like Instagram, they're going to start targeting ads for you based on the information that you put in. So be aware of that. When you copy and paste a resume in, I would just recommend you go ahead and leave all your contact information out of it. It's still, it's still on LinkedIn, your resume, so it is what it is. But so based on Jonathan Snow's resume, it again came up with very similar job titles and very, reasons why they would be a good fit. It did come up with 12 different job titles and business owner, entrepreneur. So that was kind of interesting to see that. The next thing I asked it to do is to tell me why I would be a good fit for this role, or tell me why my client would be a good fit for this role. So you're going to have to take a job description, copy it and paste it within that same thread, because it does need that resume information. And what it came up with, this was for a military affairs relationship director with USAA, which, by the way, if you don't know, that's very competitive to get a job at USAA. So it talks about their military background, 20 years of experience, leadership experience, working as a senior strategic planner at the Pentagon, maintaining relationships, communication, military culture. It came up with some really good reasons. So this is a great way to start to almost tailor your resume and to also feel confident going in to apply for a role. Now, again, I tried to say, help me find 5 strategic planner roles in the Washington, D.C. area. It told me I can give you steps on how to do it. It would not look up any job listings, unfortunately. Any questions so far, by the way? I know I'm throwing a lot at you. Okay. So using ChatGPT for your LinkedIn profile. Now, LinkedIn, most of you probably found me on LinkedIn. Hopefully you understand just how important it is. It's your online resume. It's your networking tool. It's a job search platform on steroids. And we all know that a resume is important and it's essential. Even if you know the hiring manager on the other side of the screen, most of the time, I'd say 95% of the time, they're going to have you apply online, because that's just company policy to do the online application. Then once you get to the other side, they can pull that resume. But you do have to get through the ATS. And if it filters you out and you can't get through to the other side, then it doesn't matter who you know on the other side. But I also would not exclusively rely on applying online and crossing our fingers and throwing our resume into the black hole and just hoping and praying. You absolutely should be leveraging LinkedIn to follow up on your job applications every single time. And even if it doesn't say who the job poster is, there are ways to go in and use filters and figure out some people to connect with and hopefully eventually connect to the right person. That is in a different course that I'll talk about later. So just leverage LinkedIn, very important. Oftentimes they're going to see your LinkedIn profile before they ever see your resume. So a LinkedIn headline, if you don't know, that's that section right beneath your name. So it's automatically going to be populated by your job title and your employer. If you don't make edits to it, that's going to be the default. Another important thing to note is that the first 58 characters are the most important because they are what's going to be visible on a mobile device, and tons of people are using their mobile devices, right? Even though on LinkedIn, a lot more people are still using desktop. So I asked ChatGPT to write a 200-character LinkedIn headline based on a resume, and it came up with a pretty good one, and it did use emojis, which I would be cautious of. I'm a big emoji fan. I think that the visual element, obviously your brain can just read it a lot more quickly than written text. But I just heard from a Deloitte recruiter, which again is a very hard company to get into, who said, really be careful with how many emojis you're using. So, go with your gut, go with what feels good to you, and just be aware of that. I'll show you some additional examples that were ChatGPT generated. And I love that it picks up on the most strong quantifiables. So highest number of team members that you have led, the highest dollar amount in property, assets, and equipment, managed 1.3 million in food and beverage services. Love that. So make sure you have those really strong quantifiables in your LinkedIn header, and ideally within that first 58 characters. So next, you can ask ChatGPT to also write your about section. My biggest tip here is to ask it to tell a story. Otherwise, it comes up with pretty generic information. I'm not a huge fan of that. But when you ask it to tell a story, it does come up with a pretty good story. And I'll show you an example. Also, another thing to note is it's not very good at sticking with character limits. I don't know why, but every single time I have to remind it. So it'll write an about section and it'll be over the character limits. And I'll have to say again, reduce to 3,000 characters. So that is pretty normal. I'm sure that that'll be fixed before long. Okay, so with this specific example, you can kind of read through. We did use a few emojis. This client was comfortable with that. But having the core competencies, having the military experience, talking about the journey that the client had been through, I really like how this turned out. So play around with it, because it comes up with some good content when you're struggling to come up with a good idea and you just need a place to start. It's a great place to start. I would absolutely modify it to fit your language, because I can always tell when something is ChatGPT written exclusively. It doesn't sound like the person. And I know we all are going to get better at determining that. If you see a lot of emojis, it's probably ChatGPT written too. Okay, so this is where I really do need you guys to be interactive and to answer me in the chat. So now that we've covered a lot of the overview of how to use ChatGPT, I want to know how you feel about using it to translate your military experience, to write your resume, and to job search. So I'll give you 3 options here to make it easy. So number 1 is that you feel confident moving forward in utilizing ChatGPT. Please put number 1 in the chat. Number 2, if the information has been helpful, but you're still a little unsure or have more questions, please write number 2 in the chat. And then number 3, if you still feel more comfortable working with a human, I would love to know that as well. Angela, I love your answer, 1/2. That was not an option. Okay, Latricia says 2 and Brian says 2. Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of information, and it's hard when it's just so generalized. Once you start to use it with your specific resume, I feel like it makes a lot more sense. Jamie, I hope you're number 3. Just kidding. Okay, Jona's number 3. Yes, yeah, I think that a lot of people are in that boat. Okay, so if your answer was number 1, which I know we had a 1/2, If you feel confident moving forward, my only recommendation is please don't use the formatting on ChatGPT. I hate it. It's horrible. Um, please consider purchasing a unique and customizable resume template, doing anything but just using that format, okay? Promise me, promise me. Now, if your answer was number 2, we do have a 4-week live boot camp coming up. The next cohort starts November 22nd, and it's going to be at this same time. So it's hopefully a good time for you if you're here. Hopefully it'll be a good time for you in the future. It's a really fractional cost compared to what it would be if you just want to hand over your information. You know, if you want to be really involved in writing your resume, this is such a great option at $279. And I'll explain what's included here and who it's designed for. So this is for service members who are 3 to 18 months from their target start date and will not have a change in duties or a change in duty station, because then you're going to have to be making more edits down the line. The goal of the course is for you to have a ready to share resume in 4 weeks with 4 one-hour sessions. We're also going to optimize your LinkedIn profile, and we will be using ChatGPT, so it's going to make it a lot easier. And you're also going to have me, a human being, behind you saying, oh, like that wasn't civilianized very well. I would make tweaks here. Let's change this term. And so you do have that human element behind you. The other thing is we are going to talk about job searching and networking strategies. So one of the things I talked about earlier with LinkedIn, you know, how to figure out who a recruiter is to connect with when you don't have a job poster listed. That will be something we'll cover along with a ton of other things. As well, we're going to talk about tools to tailor your resume outside of just ChatGPT. We also have 5 unique and customizable resume templates in the course. And it's going to be, like I said, 4 weeks of a 1-hour, we're calling it a lunch session since it's 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then you'll have 12 months access to our recorded sessions, as well as a closed LinkedIn networking group for support. Now, if your answer was number 3 and you're just like, I do not want, you know, I don't want to mess with ChatGPT, I don't want to go through a 1-hour weekly course, and you just want to hand over your information, which would include your evals, your award write-ups, your educational transcripts, your JST. We have a whole checklist of things that we need from you in order to create a resume from scratch. That is a great option. There is also a free option, the veteran nonprofit Hire Heroes USA, which is an organization I do fully support. I've worked for them for over a year, and I've also volunteered with them. I have a few little issues with them. The biggest one is their resume template. Again, it's bland, it's boring, and 80,000 other people have this same template. I wish they would switch it up. The other thing is you don't know what veteran transition specialist that you're going to get. You know, there are some great ones out there that are super experienced, that are also CPRWs, and there are also some people who have never written a resume besides their own in their life. So it's really kind of a gamble what you're going to get there. The wait time is 4 to 6 weeks from the time you apply online. So just be aware of that wait time and factor that in. And obviously, the one that I'm most passionate about is resume writing services with Career Confidence. We do charge on a sliding scale, starting at $7.99 for an E6 and going up. It's a 2-week wait time to get your first draft. And we also do LinkedIn optimization. And I'd say from start to finish, it takes anywhere from 30 to 45 days. Just a quick breakdown of what's included. We do offer 100% money back guarantee. We also offer a 2-month payment plan, so 50% upfront, 50% in 30 days. And also any job seeking related services can be tax deductible up to 2.5% of your annual income. Please talk to your accountant about that. I'm certainly not an accountant, so definitely touch bases with them. The other thing is it is applicant tracking system friendly. That it's really hard to find that balance of being ATS friendly and also having the visual appeal for the human being who eventually reads it. Also, it's all fully editable by you. You get a Word doc version. We also give you a PDF version of both a primary or master resume, as well as a tailored resume. And that tailored resume is where you send a job link, we send you back a tailored version of your resume and screen record the process to show you what tools we use and what areas we need to tweak in order to not just get through an ATS, but hopefully to rank high enough to where if they only pull off, let's say the top 10 or 15 applicants, that you're going to be among those top 10 or 15. We also, this is very new. We actually just started this in the last couple of weeks, is we have a resume blast service. So this is going to 20 recruiters and agencies nationwide. You want to use it about 3 to 6 months before your target start date. And we just send your resume out to these recruiters and agencies to see if they have a good fit for you. That's the ideal situation. We also do a direct login for LinkedIn optimizations. So we make all those changes for you from top to bottom. And then every single resume is written by a CPRW. And also I go through every resume as the certified veteran career strategist. Oh, one more thing to mention. I do only recommend this for clients who are targeting 100K plus salaries because we are a more high price service. And I will send you more details on all of this here following the webinar. So if you're not connected with me on LinkedIn, please connect with me. I would love to get to know you better. It's linkedin.com/n/Cassie Hatcher, or you can go to our website, which is careerconfidence.us. I would love to hear your questions. If you want me to do a specific example, I'm happy to do that. Or if you just want to touch bases with me on the side, that's totally understandable.